Samsonite presents the News Hour with Arnab Goswami.
For some time now, there has been an ongoing and increasingly heated debate about what the real figure of the 2G loss was. One top official of the CAG says the figure is 2,600 crores. That's of course not the presumptive figure, but the real figure. Well, the CAG itself continues to insist, that's Mr. Vinod Rai, he says the figure is still 1.76 lakhs crores, the presumptive loss. And on top of it tonight, while it is said that the proceedings of the JPC are getting more and more heated by the day, that's the information we are getting, we have a letter with us today in which a CAG official claims to have received a phone call from PAC chairman and top BJP leader Murli Manohar Joshi in July 2010. The call came even as the 2G spectrum report was underway. While it is no proof of Joshi having influenced the report in any way, questions are being raised about what compulsion the PAC chairman had to make a call to a CAG official. So I would like to begin by first warmly welcoming Subramaniam Swamy, top petitioner in the 2G case, Manish Tiwari of the Congress Party, TSR Subramaniam, former cabinet secretary. My first question is to Mahesh Jethmalani. Mr. Jethmalani, isn't it slightly embarrassing, this whole talk that there was pressure being put by Dr. Joshi to call the CAG an attempt, people are saying, to influence the probe, to hasten the probe, hinting of an urgency in signing off the audit report? Why this urgency, sir? And how are you reading this letter?
No, the letter only says that the gentleman received a call from Dr. Murli Manohar Joshi. The contents are completely, not in the public domain. So I don't know what inferences people are making, but desperate people will make all kinds of inferences and all kinds of speculations from the flimsiest of evidence. The best person to ask this question is both the author of that letter and Dr. Murli Manohar Joshi. What transpired? I don't know how the Congress, there's got to be a very fertile imagination or an extremely desperate inclination to make the kind of insinuations that have been made.
No, but sir, I think you are
certainly not perturbing for the BJP.
I think you're underplaying it, sir.
No.
I think you're underplaying it nicely.
But there's a phone call. What are the contents, for God's sake?
The contents are this.
How can you make such a big inference?
You know the content. I'll tell you the content. The content says, letter 13 July 2010, there was tremendous, quote, there was tremendous pressure on him from parliamentarians, media, etc. about the examination being done by the Public Accounts Committee in respect of recent development in telecom sector, etc., etc. If the probe is further delayed, the executive would get the time to cover up the issue. This is the contents. Now, of course, it's not written by Dr. Joshi. Okay.
Yes, it's not written by Dr. Joshi. So I'm saying, how is it an embarrassment for the BJP? That was your pointed question. Pointed question is, what did Dr. Joshi tell this gentleman, who's the author of the letter? You ask Dr. Joshi, and I don't think it will be any embarrassment at all. How can we make all kinds of unwarranted assumptions and speculation on this issue?
I have not made a single assumption. I'm only asking questions tonight. I want to see how Manish Tiwari reads this. Manish Tiwari.
Well, Arnab, as you know, I'm constrained because of my membership of the Joint Parliamentary Committee, and after 2 days in the JPC, we've got spectrum and telecom coming out of our ears. All that I can say is that yes, this particular note was a part of the papers which were sent by the CAG to the JPC. They are under examination of the Joint Parliamentary Committee at the moment. As of now, and I don't think I would be breaking privilege if I would say that it has not really been discussed in the JPC, but I think since the CAG is supposed to be coming and assisting the JPC again on the 22nd of November, if I am informed correctly, possibly the issue will come up.
No, is there something wrong? Okay, between your, I do not want you to break privilege. I don't think you'll be breaking privilege if you simply, I ask you a straight answer to a simple question. Is it right or wrong in your view, Manish Tiwari, for the chairman PAC, if he has contacted the CAG regarding the 2G before the submission of the CAG report?
The reason why I cannot, even if I want to give a straight answer, Arnab, is because, as I told you, that these papers have been provided by the CAG to the JPC. They are a part of the bunch which has been sent across. They've been circulated to members, and ultimately, after all the evidence is taken, the JPC is to collectively come to certain conclusions. If I unilaterally come to a certain conclusion or I articulate a conclusion, I don't think that would be correct on my part. And as I said, that over the last 2 days, it is something which really has not been discussed. It may be discussed in the days to come, as and when, if it is raised by one of the JPC members. And then depending upon the lay of the discussion, once the JPC concludes taking evidence and it starts then sitting down to sifting and weighing that evidence, we will all collectively come to a conclusion. But I would just like to say, one thing, because in the preface you said that, the discussions in the JPC have got very heated. Over the last 6 or 7 months, the JPC has functioned in a very non-partisan manner. Yes, there's been a very animated debate, but the whole process has been completely non-partisan, and we are trying to be as objective as possible, trying to deal with the facts as they are, and then come to appropriate conclusions. So therefore, while yes, we represent different political parties, but as of now, over the last 6 or 7 months, I think each and every member of the JPC has behaved in an impeccably objective manner. Okay,
now you're really holding yourself back a lot tonight. I appreciate that. My question is now to Subramaniam Swamy. Mr. Swamy, this figure of a loss, you have a figure of 1.76 lakh crore on the one side, and you have a 2,600 crore loss. Even if you argue that the scam remains anyway, don't these varying numbers trouble you greatly as well?
No, not at all, because the criminal case that is going on in the trial court has got nothing to do with this number of notional loss. What it's got to do with the Prevention of Corruption Act, which centers around the fact that Raja fixed the price. Of course, he didn't do it alone, but he and one other minister together fixed the price at 2001, when the price in 2008 was about 10 times, and then permitted some of these companies to sell it at 8 times the price they bought it from the government of India, and in the process enabled these companies to make a huge windfall profit. That's the core of the case, and therefore whether it was 1,76,000 or 26,000 or even less, it is immaterial for the trial court, and that's what is really of concern for me.
You agree with that, Manish Tiwari? That it makes absolutely no difference to the criminality of the case?
Well, essentially, there are two things that I would like to say. Number one, the Joint Parliamentary Committee has a very wide mandate. And if today it is looking into the figures of losses, it is because of disconsonance in the public domain, which has surfaced from within the JPC. And again, Arnab, I would like to say, without breaking any privilege, it is not even 2,400 crores, because, one official of the JPC had raised a very conceptual question, when the report was being formulated, that when the TRAI did not recommend auction and the government did not decide to auction 2G spectrum, so can the loss really be quantified? In other words, whether there was a loss at all. Again, I'm not coming to any conclusions, because that is what the committee has to come to collectively. But I'm saying is that now you have a range which essentially goes from unquantifiable to a presumptive loss of 1,76,000 crores. So once we've got all the evidence, we will look at it and come to an appropriate conclusion. Insofar as the criminality is concerned, since the matter is sub judice, the charge sheet has been filed, the trial is going on, I think as it would be fair to allow the JPC to come to its own conclusion, I think it would be fair to allow the trial court to come to its own conclusion.
No, Manish, there was a fundamental problem. The Singh's figure which you are quoting talks about the actual loss suffered by the government as opposed to a presumptive loss stated by the CAG. So I don't think it really does it really diminish it. TSR Subramaniam, this whole debate that the figure is lower, where do you stand on a TSR Subramaniam? Then I'm going back to Mahesh Jetwalani after that.
Well, I feel that we are missing the main point, which I think Mr. Swamy referred to. The main point is, was there huge loss to government? It doesn't matter, frankly, if a man drowns in an ocean of 1 mile high or 10 miles high. He's drowned and dead. I think the issue is not that. I think the issue is, firstly, much like we saw in a totally different context of Anna, a lot of attempt is being made to get digression. Frankly, I couldn't care less if it was 200 crores or 2,000 crores or 2,000 crores. Let the PSC come to a conclusion of, so long as the conclusion is that there was a loss. In which case the criminal case makes sense, number one. Number two, how many CAGs do we have? Is RP Singh CAG? He has got 500 people working under him, officers working under him. If the principle is accepted that every officer in the CAG can give his own opinion, you don't need Vinod Rai. You only need one undersecretary in every ministry. You don't need the ministers, you don't need anybody. Everything is final at that stage. I think we are barking up the wrong tree going into this. The CAG is a constitutional authority, has taken all facts into account.
Sir, no.
Rightly or wrongly.
Sir,
for example,
sir, I would like
Chief Election Commissioner,
sir, can I contest?
The Chief Secretary transferred. He does various things now.
Sir,
why he is doing it, how he is doing it.
No, but sir, let's contest. I want to contest you on one particular angle of this. When the CAG official says, I informed him, as per this letter, that is Joshi, that the matter will be taken up with the CAG of India, what happened after that? Why did the official not immediately dismiss Joshi's demand, saying you are breaching the CAG's turf? The question is very simple. We can go around in circles. Is there political pressure on the CAG? Are there some pressures being applied? It's certainly a constitutional authority, but those questions are also relevant, aren't they? Aren't they relevant, Mr. Subramaniam?
They are relevant to this extent. Look, let me come back now. We have had 10 to 15 CAGs in the past. By and large, they were generally retired civil servants, generally very obedient, generally very friendly to the government. To a large extent, October of 2010, Vinod Rai was an unknown commodity, like Seshan was an unknown commodity sometime in 93. Nobody knew that others had not recognized that the constitutional authority is a servant of the people, not of the government, of the constitution. So at that time, I am certain, between you and I have fairly good information that enormous pressures were put from very many quarters.
Manish.
And I'm saying this with responsibility. But now we know that he is a person who will stand his ground. So this happened
Manish.
in October. I'm saying the responsibility. What attempts were made to reach him through whatever means, etc.
Manish.
I have a fairly
that's a fairly strong comment you're making
on this. Therefore, now nobody would approach him, would dare approach him today.
But
at that time, I would believe that he was approached from every direction.
Every direction. So we are getting into real politics of it right now. Good. I want Manish Tiwari to come into that. Manish Tiwari, fairly stinging observation from TSR Subramaniam. I don't think I need to repeat it.
Arnab, I can't hear you. I've lost the audio. Yeah, it's back now. Can you repeat the question?
I said it's a fairly stinging observation from Mr. TSR Subramaniam.